Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is YAHMAD. We're now going to be focusing on the data manipulation part from the paper 2, November 2017 practical exam. So we've done a word in the first part. We didn't finish a word, we have to complete an extract in databases. So we're on this task at the moment. So a trainee is developing a database. You're going to create some reports to test this database. Make sure all currency values are displayed as a currency sign of your choice and are set to 2 decimal places. So this is key. So we can select any currency value. So it doesn't have to be specific. It can be a dollar, a pound. Right. So examine the data in the files N17 cruises and N17 liners.csv. So what we can do, we can have a quick look at these files. So this one here. So I'm just having a quick look. So we got a date and time field. This looks like it's going to be a Boolean field because it's got 0 and -1. We've got values which contain decimal numbers, so this will be as double. And then we've got integer values here. So we've got the field names along the top. So I'm going to close this down. Don't need to have it open. Okay, I don't need this table open as well at this moment in time. And let's check the second table out. So we've got less fields. Okay, so again, additional information. Information is very similar on both tables. Right, so let's close both these down. So examine the data. Yeah, we've had a look now. So it's not necessary to open up the CSV files, but make sure you close them down before you start this task. So using a suitable database package, import the N17 cruise.csv. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click here, new Microsoft Access database, and we can call it November 2017. If I open it up, it'll be a blank database. Enable content. And what we need to do is import the file N17 cruise.csv. So to import the CSV file, we need to click on external data, text file. Then now we need to click on browse, and you need to browse and select the file. So let me check the name again. So N17 cruise. So let me change this to details. It's going to be easier to see. This is the file we need. So N17 cruise is going to be the comma separated value CSV file. Okay. Next. The first row contains fields, so these are field names, and then we can click on advance. So make sure the date's in the correct format, day, month and year. Okay. Do not create a primary key, we're going to come back to this in a moment. Use these field names and date types. So the first 2 fields should be text. Yeah, text and text, or short text, the same thing really. Date is going to be appearing as day, month and year, but we can change the formatting later. The next 2 fields will be text as well, so text and text. Duration is integer, so we can leave this as it is. Daily cost is going to be double, which is a number which contains decimal numbers, so we can keep that as it is. Long integer, and normally what you'd have to change at this point is the Boolean field. So adults will be a Boolean field. It's going to be displayed as yes and no, so it's good to check the data types are correct, but normally at this point we change the Boolean field and we check to see if the data is in the correct format, date, month and year. Okay, next. Now we don't have to create a primary key. We do not create a primary key, so we need to select this option here, no primary key. Okay, next and finish, so we can keep the name of the table here. Close. So let's have a look at the data. So the first thing we have to change is this adults into a Boolean field. So if we go to home, design view, adults, we want to display yes or no. Oops, not on and off. Then we go to the question. Yeah, display as yes and no. Yep, so that's been sorted. The daily cost, currency, the 2 decimal places. So we want to change now this field, so leave a double because we want to include the decimal places, so we can select a currency and then we can be specific and select do 2 decimal places. Okay, so we've done that. Now we have to change the date into this format here, so it's going to be day 3 M's, so that's going to be a short date. It's going to be like for January it's going to be JAN, February FEB, March MAR. Okay, so we have to change the format of the date. If we click on date and time, format, let's see if we can find the format. It's going to be this one here. So we're going to have 2 values for day, 3 values for the month, and 2 values for the year. So yeah, that's fine. Going to press save to save the changes. Yep, I've done that. Right, so next evidence, take a screenshot evidence showing the field names and date types used in this table. Insert this into our evidence document. So let me go back to Access. If we go to Design View, okay, so let me take a print screen and let me place this into my evidence document. Okay. And again, we can crop off the parts which we don't need. Just make it a little bit bigger, so it's really obvious to see. And what you can do if you wanted to, we can include some extra print screens, so we can show. Actually, it's not really necessary because the information shown here will be shown in the reports as well. So the dates in the correct format, this is displayed as yes or no. So this should be enough for the print screen for this point here. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. We have to import the file n17liners.csv as a new table into our database. So we're going to repeat the steps we just carried out now. Go back to Access, so we can close down this table. Again, external text file, browse, n17liners, comma separated values, yep, CSV. Okay, next. Again, the first row contains fields. And again, we can go to Advanced, dates in the correct format. So text, and the only integer values is the vessels. So I'm happy with that. I don't need to change anything here. Normally it's only the boolean we should be looking at in a little bit more detail, but this is fine. Next. Do we have to select a primary key? So set the linear code field as a primary key field. So choose my own primary key, so this code here. Next. Okay, and then we can finish. So there's nothing where we have to change anything here. This is fine. I'm happy with this. Okay, we don't have to change any currency values, any boolean fields, any dates. So we can keep this as it is. So now we have to create a relationship between a linear code field in a cruise table and a linear code field in a linears table. So basically, if I open up both tables, you'll see the information here corresponds with the information here. Okay, so the information here appears once and it appears here maybe many times. So to make the relationship, let's close the tables. Let's go to Database Tools, Relationships, and let's add both tables. Close. And it's going to be a one-to-many relationship. So we need to highlight this field here and we need to link it to this field here. Just before I make the relationship, let me see the evidence. Take a screenshot evidence showing a linear code set as a primary key field. Insert this screenshot into your evidence document. Okay, so really, this shows us the evidence. It's a primary key, but what I'm going to do, I don't want to save changes. Let me first of all take this print screen to show the linear code has been set as the primary key. It also shows in the relationships as well, but let me just pull it here. Okay, crop off the parts which we don't need. Let's increase the size. And then the next evidence is the relationship evidence. Okay. So database tools, relationships, we add both tables. We increase the size of the tables. So take a screenshot evidence showing a relationship between the tables, insert this screenshot into your evidence document. So I'm going to highlight this one and drag it onto this one here. Okay, I'm going to take two print screens, so let me print screen this box first and then create. So we've created that relationship. So let me just first of all show you this box. What this box shows is a one-to-many relationship. So the reason I'm print screening this, in the AS exams it asks for this print screen as well, so it may be worth including this. So you can see the relationship type, one-to-many. It shows what table the field has come from. And then what we can do is take the second print screen to actually show the relationship in this format as well. Again, let's crop the parts which are not necessary. Relationships. Right, and let's save this evidence document. Let's go back to the question. So we've done all of these sections here, so let me just highlight. Okay, done. Right, question 21. We have to create a data entry form which will include all the fields from the cruise tables. So let me close this down, save, yeah. Let's check if it's worked. It has worked. And as you can see, we've got a one-to-many relationships. So we want to create a data entry form to include all of these fields here. Allows the user to select the linear code data from a drop-down list. Okay, so we got 21 different codes. So CL01 going all the way down to CL21. Okay, so let's make the data entry form first. So what we need to do is go to Access, close down the tables. If you click on Create, Form Wizard, select the correct table. So we want to use the cruise table. Select all of the fields. Next, next, and then we can just give a suitable name, data entry form. Finish. Okay, so we have all of the fields. So we include all of the fields from the cruise tables. So now let's make the drop down menu. So okay, so allow the user to select the linear code data from the drop down list. Right, to do this, I'm going to go to design view. So before I start, actually, just let me close this down. Normally I would do this, if I was doing this, and if I go to design view, normally if I wanted to make a drop down menu, I would go to lookup wizard, but because this is now part of a relationship, it's going to give me this error message. So I'm not going to follow this method. I'm going to use an alternative method. So if I go to my data entry form, and if I go to design view, so this field here needs to become a drop down list. So we need to select this field, and if I right click, we want to change it to a combo box. Okay, and then if I go to data row source, we need to find where this data is going to come from. So we want all of the options basically from here. We want these options to appear in a drop down list from this table here, so from N17 liners and this linear code. Okay, so if we highlight this field, We go to data, row source. If I click on here, this three little dots, we want to add this table, close, and then we want to add this field here. And what we can do, we can sort it so the numbers will appear in a correct order from the highest to the lowest. Okay. If I click on close, I want to save the changes, yes. Then if I go to design view, you'll see now this has become a drop down menu to include all of the fields from this first field here, or all of the records from this field here. Okay, so hopefully that was quite straightforward to follow. So the first thing I did was I changed it to a combo box. Okay, then I went to the property sheet. If you can't see the property sheet, just click on the property sheet tab, data, clicked on these three tabs, added a relevant table and selected the first field, the linear codes. Okay, then I saved the changes, and as you can see, the drop down menu now has these options here. Okay, so what's the next thing we need to do? So insert into your evidence document screenshots to show the drop down list displaying some of the linear codes. So before I take my screenshot, I'm just going to edit my drop down or my data entry form. So this only has 4 records in, so we can make that a little bit smaller. Let's just make this a little bit smaller as well. So it's not asking us to do this, but I just do it anyway, so it just looks nice and neat. So we can make it actually these boxes a little bit more smaller. So we press Control, select them all at one go. Okay, this daily cost can become smaller as well. And then if I just press Control again, go up to Home, we can left align all of the information. So now it looks a little bit more neater. So what do we need to do? We need to take an evidence, okay, of the drop down list showing only some of the linear codes. So in this normal view, so in form view, if I click down, we can see the different options here. So we can take additional print screens if we wanted to. So if we go down here, which evidence is this for? This is evidence 6. Evidence 4, evidence 5. Okay, yep, so there's a step here. Going to move on to the next page, so we've got more space. Paste, and what we want to do is make this as obvious as possible that we have a drop down menu for a linear code. Okay, so it's not really necessary to do another print screen because we only want to show some of the codes. Right, so use the form created in step 21, which was the last question, to add the following record. So sometimes when you do make a data entry form, they ask you to, evaluate the form, good features, bad features, maybe add additional features like drop-down menus or navigation buttons. It's not asking us in this question, so I'm not going to do so. So what I want to do is I want to go to last record, 460, so I'll click on this option here, and then I want to click on this one here to add another record, so 461. So the linear code will be CL003, so I can drop this from select this from my menu. And when you are typing this information in, make sure you make no mistakes, you don't make spelling mistakes. Okay, this date should be selected because it's in the right format now. Yep, Miami, and the destination will be Eastern Caribbean. Duration will be 10. daily cost will be 105.75, and the vessel capacity will be 2,974, and adults will be no. So I don't need to change anything else. Okay, we can press save button. Check your data for any errors. Save the data, which we've just done. Place in your evidence document screenshots showing this data in your form. So now this is evidence 7. Yep, so let's just click anywhere here. Print screen. And if I go to my evidence document, new record evidence here. So let me paste it in. And again, what you want to do is make it as obvious as possible. The correct information has gone into your data entry form. So we can crop the parts we don't need, and then we can resize the information so it's really clear that this information has gone in to the form. Okay. So now we're going to move on to question 23. So we're going to have to produce a report, but before we can produce a report, we have to do a query. I'm going to pause the video whilst I annotate this question. So what I want to do is basically identify what we do first, so what we do in the query tasks, and then what we do in the report tasks. So, and then also I want to annotate the calculated runtime field, which will appear here. So we're going to basically work out the runtime field, the different search criteria, and basically identify if a task will be completed in a query or in a report. So I'm going to pause the video whilst I annotate the paper now. Okay, so now you can see I've annotated this question. I've split this question into two parts, what we do in a query and what we do in the reports. So normally when you see this type of question, the first thing we should always do is create a query and select the fields in the correct order. Okay, the second part which we have to do is to name the query. So if you name the query, normally this name will also appear at the top of the report at the end. Okay, and then the search criteria is what we do in a query, and the calculated fields as well. The sort we can do in a report whilst we're making a report wizard. Setting up the page, if it's going to be a landscape or portrait, can be done whilst we're in a report wizard. Fitting to a single page wide can be done in a report layout view, where we have to make sure the fields all fit to one page. Any calculations such as averages we can do in a report layout, and also add in additional fields, or not additional fields, additional text as labels, and names can also be done in the report. So let's start. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and you'll notice I've labeled this query 1, is we're always going to start by selecting the fields. So we can close down anything that was open. We want to create a query, so create a query. We're going to be selecting fields from these two tables. Okay, so let's close them down. So create query wizard. And as you can see, we can select from the two different tables. So show only the fields sale date, vessel name. So let's do 2 at a time. So it must be in this table here, so sale date and vessel name. So it's this one here. So we're going to add them in the right order: embark and destination. Cruise line and duration. Okay, that must be in this table here. And duration must be back in this table here. So this is one of the benefits of having a relationship. We can select fields from many tables if you want to run a query. Daily cost, and the reason I didn't select total cost is going to be the field which we're going to be creating. So we'll come to this part later. Next. And when you get to this part here, so I always do these steps first. So query 1, you select the fields. Query 2 is copy this into the title of the query. So this will come at the top of the report as well. Make sure case sensitive and no spelling mistakes as well. and it just helps identify this is for a particular report. So we've done the first two parts. Okay, we will be coming back to this part in a report, you'll see. Okay, so we've done these two parts. Now we can do this in any order. So some people, they prefer to do the query tasks first. Some people, they prefer to do the calculated field first. It doesn't really matter what order we do these two query tasks. I'm going to start off by doing the search criteria. Okay, but before I go into search criteria, let me look at the information which we have here. So the destination, you can see there's many words in this field here. So it's not just Caribbean, you've got Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean. So the first thing we have to search for, destination, is in the Caribbean. Okay, because Caribbean belongs to many different, so we've got Western, we've got Southern, Eastern. We have to put the stars in. Basically, we want to find anything that contains Caribbean. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this. If I go into design view, destination, anything that contains Caribbean, so we put star, Caribbean, and star. And then if you click off the field, you'll see it'll say like. So we just need to remember to put the stars at the start and at the end, and this will find anything that contains Caribbean. So we have now 278 records. All of them contain Caribbean. The next search criteria is the duration is 8 or more. So we can do greater than or equal to 8. So duration is this record here, or field. On the same row, so we do greater than or equal to 8. So 8 or more, yep, I'm happy with that. Click on run. As you can see, it's 8 or more, and we're down now to 59 records. So every time you type in the criteria, we should be getting less and less records, and adults is no. Now, can we see adults here? I don't see a field which contains adults, yes or no. So what you may have to do is add an additional field, adults only. We want to say no, which has now brought our number of records down to 45. But do we want to show this field? We don't want to show this field, so what we can do, we can hide this particular field, but we'll still be on 45 records. So if I show the field again, it shows here we have got 45, so it doesn't really make a difference. We can still search by a field and hide a field. If I click on run, so this part is done now, so I can highlight this. Okay, now let me explain this question here. It contains a new field called total cost, which is calculated at runtime and displayed as currency. This field will calculate the total cruise cost by multiplying the duration and daily cost. So first of all, we start off with the name of the new field. So the name of the new field is total underscore cost, and then we have to include a colon if you want to write out this formula. There's two methods, and I can show you both. Okay, then you'll notice duration and daily cost are in italic, which means they are current fields. So for this formula, you put fields into square brackets, and these will be multiplied. So we'll have to multiply the duration by the daily cost. Let me first show you the first method. There's two methods, and you can choose one of the two. Depends on which one you find easier. The first method may be, let's just type in the name of the new field. So the name of the new field is going to be total underscore cost. So we come to the end here, total underscore cost, and we need to include a colon. Okay, this field will calculate the total cruise cost by multiplying the duration. So duration needs to be added into brackets, so we have to include the square brackets, duration, close the square brackets, that's one field, this field here, multiplied by the daily cost field, okay, which is this field here. daily underscore cost. You have to write it exactly as it appears, even as the space. Close the square bracket. If we go to run, you'll see we've got a total cost, but it's not formatted into currency. So then we can click on here, property sheet, format into currency, ideally the same currency which you've used here, so pound and pound. There's no point having pounds and then dollars. So that's the first method. Let me explain to you the second method. So it's up to you which method you want to use. What we can use is the builder. Okay, and let me see the question again. So we have to multiply the duration by the daily cost. So we can select the duration here. Automatically is put into square brackets, multiplied by the daily cost. So we can just get rid of this spacing here. Okay, let me do that again because I was meant to click up here. So I'm going to click up here. So can you see the cursor's flashing? So the builder, so it's going to be duration multiplied by daily cost. So let's select duration multiplied by daily cost. Okay, the fields are being put into the correct order in square brackets. If I press OK, get rid of the space here, then where you say XPR1, you can type in the name of the new field. So the name of the new field would be total underscore cost. So total underscore cost, colon, and then you got the rest of the formula. So if we go to run, you can see it's done automatically. So if the currency is not being set, we can go to property sheet and we can set the currency. So that's your two methods. It's up to you which method you want to choose. They both do the same task. A mistake some people could make is, let's say you make a spelling mistake, or let's take out this underscore, and if I click on run, you may see this box. It's trying to find a field which is called daily space cost. This field does not exist. So if that is a mistake that you see, you need to check the spellings, make sure you've not missed out any spaces or underscores or anything like that. So now if I press run, it should work, because now this daily cost field matches exactly with what I've got here. I've got the underscore here as well. Right, so I've done all of the tasks which we do in a query. So I can highlight this. So now it's easier. I can see this part is done. Okay, I can press save. So before I move forward, I've got my new field, total underscore cost. It's formatted as currency, the same as the daily cost. The duration is 8 or more. The adults is no, but obviously we're hidden that, so that's fine with me. And the destination is Caribbean. Okay. So the tip is do one search criteria at one time. So to complete the first one, check if it's worked, complete the next one and the next one. If you do them all in the same go and something's not working, then you're not sure which one has the mistake. So if you do it one at a time and you realize there's a mistake, you can go back and fix that particular search criteria. Okay, so let's now make the report wizard. So we go to create report wizard, and you want to select the query, so Caribbean festive voyages, and we can select all of the fields including total cost. We go to next. Okay, next. Right, so let's look at the sort. So sorts the duration into ascending order, and then the sale date into ascending. So we want duration into ascending. We can change this to ascending to descending, and then it was a sale date. Okay, I'm just going to highlight this. So we've done that, duration to ascending, and then ascending order of sale date. Now when you do this sort here, it will mess up the order, so we'll have to put the order of the fields back into this order here. So ascending order of sale date. Next. Is it portrait or landscape? So it's going to be landscape. Next. Again, we need to put a title back in. Sometimes it stays, sometimes it disappears. Let me just delete this. The reason I put a title in first because it helps to identify which query we're looking at, especially when you get many queries. Okay, so we've got a title exactly entered as it appears on the question paper. Okay, finish. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, some data is not appearing. I want to put the data back into the right order. So it should be sale date, vessel name, embark. So to edit my report, the first two fields are the fields we sorted on. So what I want to do is put it back in the right order. So I want to see the sale date first. So I'm going to press Control and I'm going to move this duration here, and we'll come back to this in a minute. So the first field should be the sale date. So if it's hashtags, it means the information is not showing. The second field should be the vessel name. So we can just move that across here. Make sure none of the information is cut off. So can you see the information there is cut off? The duration, I'm just going to move it again, just get it out of the way. So if I go down, you can see, I think this is the longest name and the information's not been cut off, so I can make this slightly smaller. Okay, embark and destination are the next ones. Okay, and we can make this a little bit smaller. Duration, I'm just going to move up to here. So destination, I'm pressing Control to select all of the fields. And again, I want to check if nothing is cut off. Yep, I'm happy with that. Caribbean and South America is the longest one, so I can make this a little bit smaller. So after destination, what do we have? Cruise line and then duration. So let's move this one after cruise line, and then cruise line, let's move this over here. So the longest name is the Royal Caribbean International, and then we've got a duration. Okay, and then the final two fields are the daily cost and the total cost. Okay, I'm happy with that. So what's next? What's left to do? So fits on one page wide. So we've done that as well. So that basically means, you know, we haven't got information that's cut off like this. So we've made it fit to one page wide, and we can check the print preview. What you don't want to do, you don't want to increase this. Okay, I'm going to show you the mistakes some people do make in the exam. So if I go to print preview, it fits, all the fields fit one page wide, all the information is showing. It can print to 2 pages, for example, 2 pages tall, but as long as the fields fit one page wide, that's correct. Now the mistakes some people could do is, if I go to the end here, they increase this for some reason, I don't know why. And then if you go to print preview, yes, I know there's a problem. If I go to next page, there's a piece here for some reason, so it's not fitting to one page wide anymore. So if that does happen, then you just come back to here and you move this back to what it was. Okay, so print preview, now it should be just 2 pages. Yeah, I've got my 2 pages, 1 and 2. Right, calculate the average duration and display this as an integer below the duration column. So what we have to do, we have to go to layout view. If I click on duration, just highlight this. So press Control again. Actually, no, that's not worked. If I click on duration, oh sorry, what I should have done is I should have selected the actual values instead. Now I can see this option here has become active, and I want to select average, and the average should be displayed at the bottom. Now we want to display this as an integer value, so we can do it here or in design view. So if we go to property sheet, format, decimal places, no decimal places, because we want to show it as an integer value. Okay, that's not worked, so let me try that again. Let me change this format to standard. Okay, so now it's gone to a whole number. Okay, has a label to the left of this number, average nights. So to add a label, I'm going to go to design view. We need to click on this icon here. So if you keep your mouse over it long enough, it'll say label, and then we can type in the label to the left. Is it to the left? Yep, to the left. And the last part of this question is, has your name, center number and candidate number at the bottom of the report. Save and print your report. Okay, so it's not being specific if you want it in the page footer or in a report footer. So has your name. Okay, so at the bottom of the report, I'm going to put the name in a report footer. So if I click here, it's not being specific on the left or on the right. Center number, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and then candidate number 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom of the report. Yeah, and then save and print the report. So if I click on save, before we print, let's check the print preview. I'm just going to zoom out. Let's go to here, and you can see my name is at the bottom, and the average is below the duration column as an integer, and then you got the label, which is on the left. Okay, so now we can send this to the print. Okay. So make sure if you are printing, your name does appear. If you do print it in the exam and your name is not on your work will not come to you during the examination. Evidence 8. Place in your evidence document screenshots showing a formula used to calculate the average duration. Okay, so what we can do, if you come into design view, you want to show the formula which we used. So we basically want to print screen this part here. So this is now evidence 8. So I'm going to crop off the part which I don't need. So this part here. And then we can make it bigger. So we got the formula which we used. So I'm going to press save here. I'm going to go to my access. I'm going to save. And then we can close this down. Okay, question 24. Using fields from the cruise table, produce an extract from a data rich. So the criteria for the extract is going to be here. So before we look at the criteria, the extract will have to be saved and then imported into the document you saved in step 18. So that was the Word document which we created. Okay, so the extract which we're going to create now will be imported into this Word document. So let's go back to Access and let's go to the question paper. Okay, so each of these components for the extract will be created in a query. So the first thing we need to look at is what fields do we need. So vessel name, duration and sail date. So I'm going to create a brand new query. Going to select fields from the cruise table. So vessel name, duration, and sale date in this order. Okay, so let me highlight. We've just done that one now. Next, next, and I'm going to call this extract. Finish. Okay, so we have 461 records to start off with. So now let's have a look at the search criteria. So which has a destination of Trans-Panama Canal. So if we look at here, just going to have a look at the different destinations. There's a lot of different destinations here, so let's hopefully we can see Trans-Panama at the bottom somewhere. Well, let me go back up again. Right, the reason obviously we don't see it here is because we're looking for a destination. Okay, so it's good that I made that small mistake. What I need to do is add a new field. Okay, here you go, here's a Trans-Panama Canal destination. So what we need to do is search by this destination field, and then we can hide this particular field after we search for the criteria. So let me copy this criteria into here, run, and we've got 15 results. Okay, so we can hide this field now. Okay, so now let's look at the next search criteria. So a sale date on or after this date here, so we can use a between. So if I go to design view, sale date, so if I type in between this date here, so 10/12/2017, it's going to include this date. Just let me make this a bit bigger, and this date here, so on or before. So basically between this date and this date. So when you do between, it also includes these actual dates. So 24/12/2017 and 24/12/2017. Okay, let me just make that bigger. Okay, so we've got 7 records left. So destination is correct. The sale date is on this date, and between, so these two dates basically, so between the 10/12/2017 and the 24/12/2017. So let me just double check the dates. They're all in December 2017. Okay, 10 and 24. So we got 24 here, and we got 10 as well. So I'm happy with that. Sort the sale date in descending order. So we can do that now. So the sale date has to be in descending order. So it's the latest date going to the earliest date. Let's save the changes. Evidence 9. Place in the evidence document screenshots showing the search criteria used to select the required records. So for this screenshot, what we need to do is go to design view. We need to make sure we can see the full search criteria. Okay, and then we can take a print screen. Let's go to the evidence document, selection criteria here. Paste, and again, what we can do is crop off the parts which are not necessary. And then what we can do is increase the size of our print screen to show the search criteria which we've used. So for the destination, I've searched by that field but then hidden it. And then for the sale date, I've typed in between the first date and the second date. Okay, so let me just press save. Save this data into a format which can be imported into the document that you saved in step 18. You need to extract, or you will need this extract in task 4. So where's task 4? So this is task 4, so we're going to have to place the extract at a particular point into our document. So to extract, let me click on run, save, and to extract it in a particular format you have to right click, export. If I was making a graph I would export it into Excel, but because it's going into my Word document I'm going to save it or export it as a Word RTF file. Okay, browse, and let's save it into here. Okay, so let's now move on to question 25. This relational database uses data stored in 2 tables. Describe in your own words 2 advantages of using relationship tables rather than a flat file database. Okay, so we have to place this into evidence 10. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just to save myself some time, I'm going to copy the information from the mark scheme and then I'll explain. Okay, and let me zoom in. So the question is basically why we use relationship databases. Okay, so data is only stored once, doesn't have to be typed in twice, so it reduces data redundancy, duplication. So basically, if I show you this table here, these records only exist once. Okay, we don't need to repeat these records, and then they can be linked to records in this table here. Okay, with the primary key and a foreign key. So if we had data in one table, then all of this information would have to be duplicated in a cruise table, so you'd have to add additional fields at the end and you'd have data repeating itself. So let me go back to my evidence document. So quicker to enter, update, edit data, the fewer errors are likely, and it reduces the storage requirements. So let's say, for example, we had to change the cruise line name, for example. So if I change it here once, automatically all of the records associated with this cruise line would be updated. So I wouldn't, imagine if all of the records were on one table, you'd have to find each particular field which contains that information and change it one by one. If the information appears here once and if you update it here once, then that does not need to happen individually for each record. Right, so I've just copy and pasted it. You'd have to write it in short sentences to your evaluation. Right, so the cruise company would like to use social networking to promote their business. Describe in your own words how they can use social networking as a means of communication. Again, for evidence 11, type your answers in your evidence document using no more than 50 words. Just let me highlight that I've done this one first. Oops. Okay. Right, again I'm going to go to the mark scheme just to, save myself some time. Again, you don't need to include all of these points here. Let's have a look how many marks are available for this question. I think it was 2. Yeah, so 2 marks available. So describe in your own words how they can use social networking as a means of communication. Okay, so release new status updates about new cruise destination and products, so they can update statuses. They can post images, videos of cabins and ships. They can allow customers to ask questions about prices and durations. They can request the customer feedback to improve the service. Instant messaging, last minute change to itinerary. So we don't need to have all of this information. The 2 obvious ones you'd go for would be perhaps the first 2. So they can update their status to inform customers about new products, new destinations, and they can post images, videos of cabin ships or destinations. Right, so that was quite straightforward enough. Let me highlight this and highlight this. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at task 4. So we're going to be going back to our document which we started in Word. Okay, so import the extract you saved in step 24. So what I want to do first of all is I want to open up the extract, so we saved into this folder here. Okay, just let me make the size of columns a little bit smaller before I copy and paste this information in. So what's the question asking me? So import the extract you saved in step 24 into your document as a table after the paragraph which ends. Details are as follows. So let me copy this information here and using the find tool. Okay, so the table needs to go after this information here. So I press enter. Let me go back to the question. Okay, so let me copy the table. So fits within a column, does not contain a title, all required fields and their labels are fully visible, no text is wrapped. So let me copy and paste the table first, and then we can check for these settings. Copy, and let's use this option here, keep source formatting. So first of all, make sure it fits within a column. Okay. So table fits, yep. The extract does not contain a title, yep. All required fields and labels are fully visible, yes. No text wrap within the extract, so let me double check. Yep, the text is all appearing on one line, so text wrap is where the text goes onto separate lines, so we don't want that. In this case, sometimes to do say text can wrap. Okay, the table style will be applied to this extract. So I'm going to highlight this, click on here again, table. Okay, there's a 12-point space after the table. And I'm just going to remove the space, so there's only 12 points. Okay, 12 points is here. I think again, you can see here it's not really 12 points, so let me remove that space. So that's a 12-point space after this table as well. Okay, so before we print, so I can highlight all of this. Okay, so before I move on, there's no information on the question paper regarding the borders or the top row, so I'm going to leave that information as it is. They're not making it specific if we have to show borders or not, or the top row has to be shaded or not. So I'm going to leave the extract as it is. So now let's move on to question 28. Spell check and proofread the document. So if we go back to my document and if we click on review, spelling and grammar. Yes, let's check the document. So that's not a mistake, so ignore. Okay, like you can ignore that one, and that's fine. So look for the obvious types of mistakes you may expect to see. Whoops, let me go up. Right, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see both pages. And this is the best way to check for mistakes and consistency. So make sure tables are not split over two columns or pages. So yep, the table fits within that column, table fits within this column here. It's not going over two columns or over two pages. No orphans, no widows. So I can see a title that belongs to this paragraph, so I'm just going to press enter. Okay, and it goes to the top of the page. So this title belongs to this paragraph, so that's fine. No blank pages. House style specifications has been followed. Correct styles have been applied. Spacing is consistent. Save the document using the same file name. And now we can print the document. Okay, so I'm happy all these checks are complete. In your exam, if you have something that looks like this, then obviously that's a mistake. You know, you need to ensure all of the spacing is consistent text styles are consistent. There's no point having one paragraph where the text is slightly bigger. Okay, so now we can print. So file, let me first of all save, and then file, print. Check the both pages. Can you see your name? Yes, you can. Is it consistent? And if you're happy, you can send this to the print. Okay. Right. Okay, so last question. So again, this is going to be for the evidence. So the cruise company now wants to distribute a newsletter and plan to send a printed copy of this by post. Evaluate in your own words this method of distributing information. Okay, so I've gone ahead and copied some information from the mark scheme onto my evidence document. Okay, let me read the question again so we're crystal clear on what we need to do. So, company wants to distribute a newsletter and plan to send the printed copies by post. So we have to evaluate the advantage and disadvantage of receiving a printed copy if you're a customer. So we go to the evidence document. So the advantage would be not everyone has a computer or the internet, so may not be able to see the newsletter if sent electronically. It can be read anywhere, so you're not limited where a computer is. So if you have a printed copy, you can take that newsletter on the move and read it anywhere. So you don't need to be next to a smartphone or next to a computer. Now the disadvantage is the cost of ink, paper and printing if each customer will receive a printed newsletter, and also the cost of postage, which means the cost to send this newsletter by post to their customers' houses, for example. Okay, so that's this part done. So again, when you are typing out the evaluations, please, don't write them in bullet points, just short sentences. Try and compare the differences if you have to. So we've come to the end of this part now.